Namaste. Happy holy days. Greetings, everybody. I'm wishing you a very Maui Christmas and a happy Hanukkah. This, of course, is Love Coach Scott, and I am indeed in Maui, and it is our Sacred Sunday show. I want to thank all of you who are with us live in our Zoom room, and it's going to be definitely an interactive show today, so we definitely want you to participate. And I also want to welcome anybody watching us on Facebook and watching the Zoom room recording. A lot of people who watch this show actually end up watching the Zoom room recording. And so that's kind of a growing thing. So what I try and do is I go back and take a look at the comments. So if you are indeed watching us later on Facebook, still fill in thoughts and comments, and I'll do my best to respond. And I see so many of our beloved friends that come on a regular basis in our Zoom room. Hello, Anne, Jeff, Kathleen, Lynn, Mary, Susan, Tishran, Jeff. It's great to see all of you. And again, I really want today's show to be interactive because we're talking about what is an important topic. And that is honoring the Christ in Christmas. And I want to emphasize that this show is it's a multi-denominational show. We honor all faiths, all traditions, and we don't promote any particular one over another. And I want to say that my inspiration for this show today came from a little voice in my head. That's the voice of my mother. My mother passed away about 15 years ago, and we were very close. My mother was very, very Christian. She loved Jesus. And she would get very upset when she saw the word Xmas, not Christmas, but Xmas. And she'd always say, "Don't take the Christ out of Christmas." And so somebody sent me, "Hey, what are you doing for Xmas?" Or "I hear you're going to Maui for Xmas," something like that. And I heard my little mother's voice saying, "Don't take the Christ out of Christmas." That's when I thought, you know what? I'd love to do a show on that. That's a good Sacred Sunday show. And I'm really grateful that I have two really wonderful guests who you're going to meet in a few minutes. Dr. Brenda Wade, who you've seen on Saturday Night Live a couple of times now, and Astarias Miraculi, a beautiful brother who was on our show last night. And so I'm definitely going to look forward to hearing what they have to say about this topic. But as most of you who come to the Sunday show know, I always like to start us off with a meditation. So I'm going to do that. And so I want to invite everybody to drop in. And if you haven't already told us where you're from, I love seeing who's here with us. Jeff from Cortland, New York. Mary from Santa Rosa. Omashar. We've got about 15 people with us now, so let us know where you're from. And also you can get ready to drop in to a meditation. And then I'm going to bring on Astarias and Brenda after the meditation. And you're going to love both of them. They're both beautiful, bright beings that, in my reality, are filled with the energy of Christ consciousness. So let's start with the meditation, though. So I'm just inviting us to slow down and start with our breath. And as we breathe, breathing at your own pace, but consciously breathing, putting your attention on your breath. Just allow my words to gently guide you. And as we are breathing and bringing our attention inside, what are you noticing about your body temple? How well resourced are you? Have you had enough food? Have you had enough water? How was your sleep last night? And what's going on as you slow down and tune into your body? What's going on inside of your body? Are there any little aches or pains or places in the body that would like some attention? What's your emotional state? Some people run on a consistent state of anxiety and stress. Some people have a certain sense of remaining hypervigilant. Usually those of us who had a difficult childhood and always had to be on guard. Some of us are consistently relaxed. Some of us have to work to be relaxed. There's no right or wrong answer. There just is whatever is true for you. So as you do an inventory of what is going on inside your system, I want to invite you to acknowledge absolute profound acceptance of whatever is. If you're not feeling well in any way, we accept it, we acknowledge it. Practicing this acceptance of what is the perfect lead-in and segue to my understanding of the Jesus story and the Christ consciousness within. So inviting us all to open our eyes and come back. I heard a long time ago a beautiful fable or story, if you will, about how Jesus healed the leper. And the idea was that when Jesus saw the leper, he very gently, very lovingly approached this person. He said, "May I sit with you?" This alone was an extraordinary thing because most people, when they saw lepers, would throw rocks at them or run away because they were so afraid of catching the disease. We can relate to that in today's world, can't we? And so the leper was just, why would this beautiful man want to even sit with me? But he says, okay. And Jesus just sits with him and converses, just human to human, person to person, allowing the leper to begin to relax into this loving presence of Jesus, the Christ. And Jesus talks and shares and listens and creates the space to listen to the very, very deep experience of this leper's life. And the leper begins to share how difficult this life is. The physical pain, the emotional agony, the constant repulsion. Jesus doesn't jump in trying to heal him. He just listens. And as he listens, they connect, and the leper feels safe. And finally, when Jesus perceives that the moment is right, he asks the leper a very tender question. He asks, "May I share with you what I see when I look at you?" Scary question, because most people see this horrible thing, this monster of leprosy, but Jesus has so created safety. The leper says, well, okay. And then, and only then, Jesus, with all of his full Christ consciousness, sees the divine blueprint, the perfection that always has been there inside the leper, the divine blueprint underneath the disease, the illusion of the leprosy. And Jesus' ability to see that divinity, to see that divine blueprint, is so profound and so powerful that the leper remembers who he truly is. And that's how the healing occurs. Now, of course, I have no idea if that's how Jesus healed. But what I love about that story, and I'm looking forward to hearing what Astarius and Brenda have to say about that and about Jesus and the Christ consciousness. What I love about that story, though, is it reminds us, most of you who are attracted to this show, certainly Brenda and Astarius and I are all people that are in healing profession. And it's all about presence and being fully present with what is and helping all of us to remember our divinity. And so for me, the Christ story is that all of us have the ability to be healing for each other. His name was not Jesus Christ. His name was Jesus of Nazareth, who achieved the Christ consciousness, which all of us can at least tap into for moments. And hopefully those moments become more frequent. So that's my introduction. I'm not going to say too much more because I really want to hear what my guests have to say and also what you, our wonderful Zoom room audience, have to say. So let me bring on and introduce our guests. You met him last night. This is Brother Astarius Miraculi. And I've known Astarius for decades, and he and his didgeridoo and his sound healing have truly healed so many people. Last night, Astarius, I don't know if you heard when Satyan Raja, my good friend Satyan Raja, was on, and he saw you were there. He said, "Oh my God, Brother Astarius, you don't know me, but I've always loved your work." My friend Belinda was, "Oh my God, Astarius may not remember, but he did a healing for me." So you have, I know, healed thousands and supported the lives of thousands of people, Brother Astarius. So thank you for blessing us with your presence in this world and your presence today.
You're welcome and infinitely worthy, Brother King.
Thank you. And I'm also going to bring on board another wonderful, magnificent being. This is Dr. Brenda Wade. Many of you have seen her locally on KRON, our San Francisco station in the Bay Area, and also many national shows, the Dr. Oz Show. She is the love doctor, and she does it all with love. So with that, I just would love to hear from each of you. What does the Christ in Christmas, what does this Holy Day season mean to each of you? And what is your own personal relationship to the Christ consciousness, or to Jesus, the Christ?
It's such an honor to be with you, Scott. And you created this beautiful container with the meditation. It brought tears to my eyes when you were speaking about Jesus being able to see the Christ beyond the leper. And I think that's such a great metaphor for most of us. I don't know about everybody else, but I've for years worked to move through this consciousness, growing up, as you said, in a difficult childhood. My parents, both of them, I think, suffered from now, I can diagnose at a distance, but I didn't know this as a little girl. But they both had agitated depression, the kind where you just keep slogging through life. It doesn't matter what, you just have to keep going. You have to survive. There are 7 kids in the family, and Dad literally worked himself to death. And Mom was this beautiful, elegant educator who, face to the world, was just extraordinary and beautiful and elegant, but to us kids was quite abusive. So all of this for me meant my life was about being able to see past the abuse, not see myself as an abused child. And it's taken all the spiritual work, all the psychological training, all the science, because I started out as a scientist, to get to what you just shared. to be able to see what's behind. And I used to look at it as a mask that my parents wore. And then gradually over time, and I think this is possible for all of us. And this, when you ask that question, what a potent question. The Christ in Christmas. Oh, I know Astorius needs to weigh in, but you just got me going. My subconscious, my superconscious, my conscious are all going, wow, lighting up with that. So I'm going to pass it to you, Brother Astorius. We'll circle back.
Thank you, Dr. Brenda.
Yeah, thank you, beloved. It's good to see you and feel the resonance of your being. And certainly, welcome to all of you, beloveds. I feel so honored to be able to co-create with you and to engage in the eternal remembrance of our Christ I amity, which I feel is the real esoteric meaning of Christianity. Christ I am ity. And as you said, Scott, that Christ was not the last name of Jesus, but rather a principle, which is a representation of the individualization of Godhood, which is that thing that the shaman exemplifies. Shaman is God in a body, and shaman is also the full-on exemplification of Christ consciousness. So I think to sort of open this, I have a poem. I wrote this poem back in 1975, and it's called The Magic of Christmas. And it's so apropos for this day. So receive this, beloveds, as if it was spoken from the inner recesses of your own cellular being. Oh, the magic of Christmas. Did you ever tune in? When the Christ must spirit overtakes the hearts of men and women, when strangers greet, saying Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, the vibrations of Christ consciousness pervade the atmosphere. Oh, this magical time of year has so much of the world enchanted. It brings a very lofty feeling of which it's wise to take advantage. Prepare your mental manger unto Christ. Be not a stranger. Let King Jesus be born in you and thus escape the wrath of danger. Jesus said, we are one with God, and the power of Christ is within us. If you say Jesus in slow motion, you'll discover, gee, he's us. What? Gee, he's us. Yes, gee, he's us. So let Christ be born in you through the magic of Christmas time and find your soul transformed by the renewing of your mind. So you accept my proposition to what I'm saying, you do adhere. Now watch your life enrich itself during the glorious brand new year. Well, my mission is accomplished. May you shine bright as that eastern star, but always remember Christ must, and then happy new ye are. And so how that started, I was at a church and the choir was singing about Jesus. And what I heard is, gee, he's us. And they weren't saying that, but that's what Spirit deciphered within the inner sanctum of my being. And so that poem then became, the product of that initial insight that I received. And then I was given that the Christmas spirit is in truth the Christ must spirit. And it was the Holy Spirit that said the first Merry Christmas. So when Mary, Mare, was impregnated with the seed essence of the Christ in the Immaculate Conception, and she said, oh my God, what is Joseph going to say? We haven't lain together. This is not, this child that I carry is not, the fruit from Joseph. And I could hear the Holy Spirit saying to her, Mary, Christ must be born through you. So the Christmas spirit in the deeper resonance is the Christ must spirit. When the strangers greet saying Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and the vibrations of Christ consciousness pervade the atmosphere. And we see that. You hear people talking about, well, I'm really waiting to get the Christmas spirit. You see, and we all know that because over the years, there'll be that certain point where there's this frequency that comes over us that is the absolute Christmas spirit, but it's really the Christ must spirit, where we are allowing the resonance of Christ to have its way in the inner sanctum of our being. And there's tons more, but we're going to just kind of interact a little bit. I want to, leave some space for you. I get excited about this one because I really move in the resonance of the Christ that I am. I mean, I live that reality, and I have for so many years. And I not only live that for myself, but for every being. I know with all that I am that the true identity of every single being is that Christ spirit that exists within, which is the individualization of our Godhood. See, that's the way that we experience God in a body, is by virtue of the Christ spirit. And that is applicable no matter what religion, because it's not a religion, it's a principle.
Mm.
I am so appreciating everything you both have said. And
Wow, that was beautiful. Oh,
yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah, thank you. And the passion that you both have too. I want to read a couple messages from my Zoom room because I want to really honor the people that are with us. And there's some really beautiful comments. Susan said, going back a little bit, I so appreciate your mom's concern about Xmas. I was concerned too until I learned that the X represents the first letter in the Greek word Christos, Christ in English. And so Xmas includes the name of Christ from a Greek perspective. I didn't know that, and I'm Greek. So there you go. Susan or Tishran writes, the light within us. I'm a caregiver and a death doula. I'm currently journeying to the East to bring the Christ light to a trauma victim and helping with their recovery. So thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for your world service. Ruth Starwell really picked up on what Brother Astarius said. Jesus, he is us. And she says, say Jesus in slow motion. So she really picked that up. That's beautiful.
And also, just us.
Just.
He's us, just us.
Oh, that's a little bit of the slang version. That's the street version of it.
Yeah, he's us, just us.
Couple more comments I want to read, and then I want to hear back from both of you. Jeff writes, as a longtime member of Unity with the interfaith understanding of Christ consciousness, when first experienced the expanded wisdom of Jesus as the example of the blueprint of who I am, and when I had this experience, it moved me to tears of joy beyond words. Thank you for sharing that experience. Susan writes, The Immaculate Conception refers to Mary's conception, not Jesus, implying that Mary was a pure vessel from which Jesus was conceived and born. Yes, if I'm interpreting that correctly, Susan, what I'm liking is that you're recognizing, let's put the attention on Mary as the vessel, the divine feminine as the vessel that brought through Jesus. And I think that's important because the way that the Bible was rewritten and reworked and translated by a very male paradigm, it really diminished the divine feminine part of the Christ story, both his mother Mary and especially Mary Magdalene, who they turned into a prostitute, which wasn't
Right.
true. So with that, I'll turn it over to Brenda and Astarias for anything you want to share.
Well, I'd love to jump in. I was so moved, Brother Astorius, by those insights, he's us and the Christ light. And what that brought to mind for me is this idea of the chrysalis, the crystal. And I've always had this resonance around Christ being crystal light. And that this chrysalis crystal is what we're working, we're waiting, we're patiently nurturing on our journey. That at some point, we all have an experience, usually a very painful one, that causes us to get off one path onto this path of seeking. And as we become seekers, we align ourselves with this chrysalis. We begin to see it. Something has to break open in us to awaken consciousness. Now, I'm looking at this through being a psychologist and, yes, a spiritual teacher, scientist. But what I'm super aware of is that we are human beings, light beings, and our frequency resonates when we've done the work, and it's a systematic retraining of the brain to get the brain. Some of us have that lightning bolt that strikes us and we awaken, but most of us don't. Most of us have to patiently, day by day, sometimes hour by hour, work with the awareness, the reminding of ourselves that we are more than flesh and bone. We are actually light beings inside these containers, and that we have the ability to raise the frequency to get to where Brother Astarius is and able to say, gee, he's us, and that we are this crystal light. So I just want to add that one pathway I've discovered that can accelerate that progress, that can move us even more quickly, is to stay in the music of it. Each one of us has a frequency, and that frequency can attune to whether it's chanting, humming, out and out singing, the poetic expression of a Brother Astorius Miraculous, to be able to hold that frequency and let it expand. So one thing I want to bring in is just the ability to hold the sound. And a sound that comes on for me is always to sing. And I come from the old Southern Baptist tradition, Scott. And I last night actually was at a concert called Soulful Christmas. Some of the best gospel singers in Northern California were all performing together. And the sound they created was such an ignition. My whole body was in Korea and just, ugh. So find your song. Find the song that lights you up. Find the song that opens your heart. Find the song that raises your frequency. And whether you sing it or whether you listen to it or whether you play it, you know that it's impacting you when you get that expansion feeling, that awakening feeling. And I find that, my traditional psychological training is pale compared to what we can do with sound. And my favorite thing is just going into the chant, just over and over. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum. And just keeping it going, and it begins to travel on its own through consciousness. And it's a pathway. It's like moving through, I experience it as a tunnel. And I'm traveling through the tunnel and suddenly you come out of the tunnel into the light. So find your own chant, your own song, work with that. It opens the heart. And because my specialty is working with relationships, Scott, I just want to say that this is a way that couples can heal. That if you're in some sort of distress or there's a breakdown, this is a way to get back in tune with, literally in tune with one another. And if you're single and you're looking to attract love, holding that frequency will draw the partner in that's vibrating at that frequency. So I just want to add that because love is, I mean, that's what we're here for. We're here, embodiment, to learn how to love unconditionally. That's why we're here.
I could not agree with you more. That is the meaning of life. It's this incredible university of unique lessons of love. How can I learn to love myself through the cancer, through the alcoholism, through what my father did to me, or whatever it is? And you brought up sound, which is amazing because we are with us. We have a world-class sound healer in Brother Astarias. Brother Astarias, what's alive for you to share next?
Well, the first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to bring I'm going to bring forth some resonance of sound. Now, sometimes technology can get confused as to how to interpret these frequencies, but when it's going to be overtones where I'm producing simultaneous highs and lows with one voice. The highs represent heaven and the lows represent earth. And it's creating a marriage of the frequency of heaven and earth within the cells of our body. So even if the technology doesn't get it exactly, allow yourself, beloveds, to feel the feeling frequency. And this tone is by the or in relation to the deliberate intention to activate and accentuate the Christ within us. Thank you, beloved Creator, for aligning us with this frequency of sound which is at resonance with the primordial first cause that has brought everything into being. All things have found their way into manifestation and crystallization by virtue of sound. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God, and the Word is sound. And I thank you, Dr. Brenda, for your expression of the chrysalis, because people have asked me about the crystal. In fact, this is one of my creations, the crystal wand. I make ascension wands. And, some people say, well, I don't like to deal with crystals because I don't like to deal with something outside of myself. I said, well, the crystal isn't outside of yourself. The crystal is the part of you whose name is crystal. And crystal is what? Christ all.
Yes.
So the Christ is within the crystal, which is one of the reasons why the crystal has such a profound impact upon people. And it becomes the catalyst of our remembering who we are. And it's very interesting. You talk about relationships. I just finished with, I was on for about 45 minutes on a YouTube live called full moon alchemy.
Mm-hmm.
And in this, I was talking about the Twindom, because the moon is full, and it was just not many hours ago full in Gemini, the twins, and we are all about the Twindom. See, and when we really engage in the full resonance of this full moon in Gemini, we then recognize that the universe is our twin.
Mm-hmm.
Christ consciousness helps us to recognize that the universe is our twin. You, Dr. Brenda, you're my twin. Scott, you're my twin, because every being is a mirrored reflection of some vital part of myself, my current self, yester self, future self, or at the very least, potential self.
Mm-hmm.
We come together to reveal one another to each other. That's the twindom, and it ties into all of our relations, not just that special relationship that we have with the beloved. That's special, of course, because it gives us this experience of having a rendezvous with God. That's why in the honeymoon stage of relationships, the beloveds treat each other like what? God. The beloved can't do anything wrong in the honeymoon stage. Now, it might not last but a few months, or sometimes people milk a year or a few years out of the honeymoon stage. But it's when there's this recognition that the beloved is deity, the beloved is God. And in every moment, we're having a rendezvous with God. That's what the Christ consciousness teaches us. We're having a rendezvous with God. We are the universe keeping sacred company with itself in this now moment. We're the universe feeling safe with itself in this now moment. We're the universe honoring, empowering, enriching, and perfectly accepting itself in this now moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I have something I want to share here that I think ties so wonderfully. This is from my book, and also The Magic of Christmas that I read is also in my book, but also I put it just before this program on my Facebook page. So for those of you who want that, can get it, on my Facebook page, but also I'm going to put it on my Instagram page, Astarius.Miraculi. Anyway, this one I call I Allow, Receive, Live, Manifest, and Live My Ascension. And I think that's what the Christ consciousness is all about. I allow, receive, live, and manifest my ascension. Now, free from the nightmare of the earth dream, I rise into my celestial mansion in the passionate embrace of bliss. I envelop every being and every sector of reality. In the journey through eternity, there have always been ascended beings holding this great exaltation on behalf of the unascended on earth. Through the connection with God, God is absolute, the angels and ascended masters, the unascended are unknowingly ascended. I allow, receive, manifest, and live my ascension. In ascending, I realize that I have always been ascended. Every time any being ascended, I ascended. The ascension of one is the ascension of all. Each being is the micro container of the all life. There is only one ascension experienced by all in a multitude of ways from a multitude of locations in time and space. I allow, receive, manifest, and live my ascension. I see us all through the eyes of God, realizing that we are already infinitely wonderful and eternally validated. With this awareness, we can now create and achieve for the sheer joy of creation and achievement. Doing, achieving, and creating are not what determines our worth. By virtue of our being, we are of infinite worth. I am, therefore I love me. You are, therefore I love you. All life is, therefore, of infinite value. I allow, receive, manifest, and live my ascension. I ascend for planet Earth, and planet Earth ascends for me. I am the co-expressor of every good deed and every creation. I feel sacred pride in every wonderful thing ever done. I am, as you are, a cell within every being, and every being in all existence, a living presence within each of us. My soul is the dwelling place of all that is. We all have a hand in every great creation. Each of us is a cell within the Master Christ. We co-walked on water, co-raised the dead, and co-healed the sick with the Master. I am, you are, we are, cellular co-creator of all that is created. God, Goddess Absolute is a life force that creates within us all. In honor of and in connection with all life, I allow, receive, manifest, and live my ascension. And that is from my book, Miraculi, Song of Ascension.
Beautiful. Wow.
So thank you. And I love you so much. Thank you so much for both of you for just being here. I'm just full. I mean, my soul is bursting and my heart has something new to throb about by virtue of this moment, because I am deliciously in the perception of the reality of your inner divinity. As I look at you, I'm truly seeing, that Christ and that God essence within you, Dr. Brenda, within you, Scott. And it ties into that story of the leper.
Yeah.
That we say, and I always say that to beloveds, even if you're in painful exchange with someone, and they could be being as horrible as a being can be, but rather than giving attention to their horribleness, let's look larger. Let's
Yes.
see their redemption. Let's make this amazing deposit in their soul bank that will accumulate interest until such time that they grow into the readiness to withdraw the deposit that we make for them. And when we're looking larger, we feel better inside because we're not focused upon that lowly vibration. So let's
Exactly.
believe in the redemption of each other. And I love you so much.
That's beautiful. Beautiful teaching. I love it. I love it. Can I jump in here, Scott? Because it ignites
Absolutely.
something for me. Brother, you are such a gift, such a magician. That was extraordinary. What came up for me as I was taking it in, being on the ground with people who are struggling with love, and especially this time of year. I don't know if you guys know this very sad fact, but 2 weeks after Christmas, January 1st, there are more people filing for divorce than any other time of the year. It's a time when the light outside gets low, the brain goes into that devolution. But what I'm hearing our beautiful magician offer is that it's possible for us to turn on the light inside. And I have a tactical way that I approach relationships, bringing science and psychology and spirituality together. And that is to do three things. One is sit down and identify your own, I call it the toxic love pattern. Once you know that's the pattern that you run, and that pattern comes from whatever it is we experienced in childhood. We get that wound because the wound has the energy wound up and we have to work to unwind it. But once we get that wound, it's either going to run us, ruin us, or become the best way for us to open our hearts, because we'll be forced into such a painful place. I've been there, where it's like, okay, I've got to do something here. And then there's an awakening. So if you can ID your own pattern that was your response to whatever suffering you got to experience, whatever loss you got to experience, whatever challenge you got to experience, which is a gift, even though initially it seems like, why am I being punished? If you can identify that, either you became a doormat, you became a destroyer, the person who reacts with anger and who goes into a destructive mode in the relationship, or you became a freezer, the person who just closes up and can't offer love and support to yourself or to anyone else, whatever your pattern is. And it's destroyer, doormat, freezer, and, oh yes, the super reasonable person whose intellect is just going to take over, and they're going to give you, the chapter verse of whatever tome they're reading at the time. If you know that's what you're doing, that's a key you can put in the lock. Once you put the key in the lock, you can open the door and access these beautiful resources of spiritual teaching, reading, the poetry, the music. And even before you get to the place where the pattern is now running you and ruining your relationship, we can do both. ID the pattern at the same time. It's like taking water and changing dirty water, one glass at a time in a fish tank. You take out one glass of dirty, put in the clean. Eventually, the clean water, this is such a silly metaphor, but just popped in my head. The clean water takes over. So I'm advising and recommending and suggesting and offering that we do the spiritual work with all our hearts, and at the same time have the awareness that if we can name the pattern, it no longer has the power to run us. If we can see where it came from, we can diminish the power of the pattern. So that for me is the marriage of science, psychology, spirituality, how we blend them and work with that practice. And again, that's the reason we're here, to learn how to love unconditionally.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And you said something about, well, thank you for acknowledging the magician within me. And I want to point out something relative to the reality of all of us being the magician. And there's one factor of our being that we need to utilize in order to bring forth the magician. And it's really simple. It's a no-brainer, and it really blows you away when you look at it. Imagination. So what's the key word in imagination? Magi.
Yes.
Magi. See, imagination is magi, in action. The magician, am in action. And all of us can be the resonance of the magician by simply utilizing and wielding the power of the imagination. The imagination enables us to be where we're going before we get there. Imagination allows us to be where we're going before we get there. Like here we all are in a body. We have this trifold creation, Scott, Dr. Brenda, Astarius. And so we're here in a form experience. We're engaging with each other form to form. And yet it was the intangible desire and intention, the formless desire and intention that was the predecessor that enabled us to now be here. Were it not for the formless desire and the formless imagination, the seeing within the mind's eye, that we're going to circle in here and have this experience. Magi, in action. Let us utilize the imagination. And I love the tarot, and I was blessed to crack the code of the major arcana of the tarot. So the major arcana of the tarot is 22 cards. And there's 4 cards that are real key in those 22. The fool, key 0, that takes the journey, steps off the cliff down into manifestation. That's us, stepping down from the celestial heights into incarnation. And the first step in the journey is what? The magician. That's key 1. And then the midpoint of the journey is justice. But we need to decode that, because justice, as we see it, is Justice. That's just ice. And we see that in our justice system. The true justice is Justis, just is. And then the final step in the journey is the world, key 21. And in some decks, they call it, the universe. So when we decode it, we take those 4 cards and turn them into a sentence, and we get the fool, magician, just is the world. Or the fool magician just is the universe. So we're coming home to ourselves. We are remembering. And I love that you mentioned the wound. See, we all are the wounded healers. And I look at this full moon that's 27 degrees of Gemini, which when the moon is 27 Gemini, that means opposite is the sun is 27, degrees of Sagittarius. And the opposition is the oppositional alignment, which represents relationship, all of our relations. But then the other significance of this particular full moon is that galactic center, the center of our galaxy, is 28 degrees Sagittarius.
Mhm.
So this full moon is in oppositional alignment with our galactic center, which represents the inner sanctum of our being, who we are at the central core of our being, which ties into the I and the I am of the storm. See, that's where the Christ lives. You know, the inner divinity, the inner heaven, that place that is uncontaminatable by anything, just like a raging storm or tornado, comes down the block and demolishes every house on one side of the street and leaves every house on the other side of the street totally intact. Why? Because the side that was left intact was passed over by the eye of the storm. See, in the middle of all of that turbulence is this place of pristine peace. And that's the eye of the storm. And I have been guided to call it also the I am of the storm. We
Mhm.
are the I and the I am of the storm. So we go to that central core place. And this full moon, in alignment with galactic center, is triggering that and helping us to go into the inner sanctum. See, there's that place where we are invincible, invisible, and invulnerable and immune to all of the negativity, because every dark thing, every hatred, every fear, every worry is always the surface. Can't be the center, because the center is the real estate of God Almighty. It's the real estate of Christ consciousness,
Mhm.
our inner divinity. So let's just take a moment and really feel that, beloveds. And also to feel that by virtue of the victory of every being that has gone before us, all of our heroes and sheroes, the Master Christ, the Master Buddha, the Master Muhammad, the Master Krishna, every master that is, was, or ever will be is our own self by extension. Let us link up the telepathic battery cables, our heart mind, to their heart minds, and
Mhm.
initiate the soul jumpstart. Let us jumpstart ourselves individually by virtue
Wait, when
of
you
the
look at
all-inclusive
imagination.
absoluteness that we see. And all is well.
I love
Okay, Scott.
I I love it. Took us on the journey. That was absolutely beautiful. Thank you. I'm
Oh,
just
you're
tingling
welcome.
the feeling of it. That is so wonderful. God, I was feeling you and feeling the energy and thinking, oh my God, if there was a way for, because I'm in this lane, working with people in distress. And if people could just breathe that in, drink that in, feel this is what healing power feels like. And the practice that popped in my head as I was feeling that magnificent flow that you just gave us was, if couples could sit down with each other who are experiencing some distress and just take even a fraction of that light, that love, that wisdom you just transmitted, and just hold it with each other. Because typically people, once the brain is triggered, you've got all that neurochemical stuff going, you are my enemy, I must fight you. And if they could just hold all that love you transmitted and just set up the resonance, this heart practice, just being in the heart, opening the heart and allowing whatever needs to come, synchronizing the breath and what needs to come. Because it's hard to put these energetic things into words, but my experience was one of heart blown open, breath freed, body in complete relaxation, and mind completely blown. It was great.
Well, you
And I
know what?
just feel
Rather,
a way for people to hold that together as medicine, as a way to heal whatever's up in a relationship. Because let me just say this one thing. Those bumps in relationship, those are just wake up calls. People always think they're breakdowns, but they're actually the seed of a breakthrough. And the breakthrough is to the consciousness that you are sharing with us. It's that consciousness we're working to get to. If we can just hold It's not a breakdown. Oh my God, we're having a breakthrough. This is great. Instead of, what's wrong with you? How could you be this way? Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Well, beloved, how about if we take it to another level?
Yeah, let's take it to another level. Get on that flying saucer with you again.
Not just if every couple could just receive this. How about being of deliberate intention to say, now that every couple is now receiving this? See, we have a pipeline connection to every being. So rather than seeing the contention that can happen between couples, let's see the benevolent, loving exchange. Let's see every couple treating one another like the divinity and the inner godhood, goddesshood that is the true reality of being. See, they don't have to even interact with us directly. We have this telepathic pipeline.
Yeah.
So right now, let's align consciousness to see by our deliberate intention and creation this awakening of every being. And then let's look larger than the confines of this one timeline. See, no matter how much contention exists between two beloveds, when we scan the course of eternity, we're going to find several sectors along the foreverness of their being where they get along famously and sacredly. And every time is now, every space is here, and every one is us. So let's pre-memorate the reality of the greatest exaltation of coupledom,
I
the
love it.
sacredness
Yes.
that can be shared. And let's call it into the now memoration of this now moment. Let's pour out the baptism of this blessedness upon those that even are not able to fully remember it for themselves. Let's remember it for them. Let's make this deposit in their soul bank. And to know that in due season, all is well in every relationship.
Beautiful. Sowing those seeds of consciousness. Absolutely. I can see the cosmic trail of light encircling the planet and exploding out and touching everyone. That was such a transmission. Thank you. That was beautiful. Wow.
Amazing transmission. And I
love it.
I want to begin into how we could do that then. So if we can make that commitment to remember how big this universe is, how great our love always is. And so when we're having that perfectly human moment of disappointment, anger, hurt, pain, to acknowledge with empathy that in that moment, the discomfort is real, and we acknowledge the discomfort while simultaneously remembering the bigger truth.
Yes.
Keeping one foot, if you will, in each world, one foot in the honest, empathic understanding of, I'm hurting right now. I'm missing our connection. And I also am remembering that we are always connected.
Yes.
Beautiful.
And pain is an angel in distress. Pain is an angel in distress. Because if we go to the center of the pain, we'll find pure light. So yes, we acknowledge the pain, and we're in the emotional honesty that we're hurting, but then we can up-level our awareness to know that that pain is an angel in distress, and we hold the power to free the distressed angel.
Yes, and there's an intentionality. You brought intentionality into the awareness that we hold each one of us a commitment and intention to unfold, an intention to be the light, an intention to be the love in action. And I think the commitment to that intentionality that you were describing is so important, because sometimes, we sort of fall into it accidentally. But if we hold that from the beginning, even if I'm not in a relationship, or I am in a relationship, or the relationship is in distress, as Scott just described, to know that my highest intention is always to experience that light, that power, that love, that gift of connection with the divine in me, which cannot be separated from the divine in you. I
Yes.
just love this. This is such a beautiful space that you and Scott are holding. We're holding together, and it's igniting for me how much transcendent power we each have, and to really stay focused on that, even when, the inevitable bumps of life come in. And again, of course, to hold that everything that feels painful, everything that feels like, oh God, what am I doing? And what's wrong with you, or what's wrong with me? That all those things are just the opportunities to grow, because they're the pangs going, excuse me, there's something over here that needs your loving attention, something over here that needs that gardening, that loving awareness to dig up the seed and see what can grow from it.
Hey,
Beautiful.
I everything you both are saying is so wonderful, and I want to read a couple more comments because I
Beautiful.
really want to include our audience because they're getting a lot out of this. So going back a little bit, Omashar says, Astarius, thank you. Your dissertation has helped me fully align with the energies of this day, of this now.
Mm.
Dia writes, every synaptic fiber of my being is feeling connected with this. Thank you. Namaste. People are saying this is such a powerful offering. Susan writes, a beautiful offering from everyone this morning. My deep gratitude to all of you. Such a beautiful flow, says Jeff. Jeff continues with, the universe is non-local and we can input into the universe.
Oh, I love it.
Dia is saying, I'm wanting every being in my life to enjoy this sacred Sunday in their lives. So thank you, Dia. And a reminder, everybody, share it out. You can post this on Facebook. All is well in every relationship, she writes. Jeff writes, make it so. Omashar points out the holographic principle. Jeff writes, the purpose of humans' existence on Earth is to master the art of living in these two dimensions simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
Dia writes, Dr. Brenda, you are the perfect balance to Astarius and Scott. Blessings abound. So there you have it. And it does feel like a really lovely triangle of energy.
It does feel that way.
Yeah, I mean, I do 3 shows a week, and this particular combination is definitely quite potent.
And I want to thank you, Scott, for instigating this, because initially I was supposed to be on this program by myself, just you and I.
Yeah.
And you said, well, I got this other person I want to bring. And I hadn't been exposed to Dr. Oh, I'm so thrilled and grateful that it's happened this way. And it's given my heart something extra to throb about. And my only hesitation, I wanted to make sure that it was a good fit.
Yeah.
Like even as a musician, I'm a virtuoso on a didgeridoo, and I've encountered other musicians that's a virtuoso on what they do, but then our chemistry doesn't connect.
Mm.
Just like a man and a woman, they can both be amazing and they can both be very masterful at making love. But if they don't have some chemistry, there
Yeah.
ain't no real bliss in the building. And so I'm speaking directly to you, Dr. Brenda, because I wanted to make sure. And then he sent me a couple videos of you, and I saw and I knew immediately, oh, this is a good fit. But I did have some reservations at first. And I'm so thrilled that this is how it has happened. I really love who
Mm.
you are. And I want to talk more deeply and learn more about what you're about, because you carry an amazing light, an amazing representation of goddess. And in fact, we're talking about relationships. So there's one piece that I think many of us forget about when we're wanting to either get a relationship or either to bring greater spice into a currently existing relationship. And sometimes we feel so separate from the great multitudinous fruition of relationship fulfillment that exists all over the place. Like,
Mhm.
are you celebrating the deliciousness of relationship fulfillment that you're witnessing, beloveds?
Yeah.
Are you recognizing that you are a billionaire of relationship fulfillment because you are a billionaire of being? So, like, here I am. Okay, I've been calling for some time, my beloved, my next beloved, my woman goddess, and all of that. And yet, at the same time, I don't see it as something that is yet to become. And every time I see an amazing couple, I say, oh my God, look at how much fun I'm having through those parts of me. Look at how fulfilled I am through these parts of me. So we have to own the deliciousness that we bear witness to in the world of relationships. And then that creates the soul jumpstart at the individual level. So that being said, I want to share what I've written to the goddess that I'm calling in. I call it Letter to My Goddess. And I say, my sweet woman goddess, I summon you as the personified nectar of goddess at large. We are spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, sexually, creatively, and economically compatible. I love who we are in flesh. I am ready to know who you are and where you are because I know that you are. I call you forth in the name of every sacred love dance throughout eternity. Wherever you are, I send you my love, my support, my peace of mind, my wisdom, my creative juice, my pulse of abundance, and my every empowerment, for I love who you are. Sweet goddess of mine, I have inhaled your essence on the wings of my breath, and we have flown in the land of dreams. Dream awake with me our togetherness in flesh and sacred blood, that we may now express our shared life purpose, bringing ascension to all. Let us be the universe finding itself through our joining, loving itself through our joining. Let us be the universe keeping sacred company with itself and feeling safe with itself through our joining. Let us be the universe honoring, empowering, enriching, and perfectly accepting itself through our joining. And let us be the universe standing by itself in the face of any and everything through our joining. The ring of our bond is the circle of eternity, which has no ending. We are the microcosm of the celestial marriage of God, Goddess, the macrocosm. I, the man God, with all the passion of heaven, call you forth, allow you forth, my woman goddess, come swiftly unto me. Our time is now. The universe has called our name. I love you and dream you awake into my life. Thank you for coming with nectar dripping from heaven, Astarius Miraculi. And when she comes, I'm going to lay it on her sacred ass.
Woo! That
I
is the
love
most
it.
beautiful, passionate, romantic call for love I have ever heard in my life.
That
Yeah.
is
That's also in my book as
totally
well,
amazing.
Miraculi Song of Ascension.
I love it. That was absolutely amazing. I could feel the nectar and the light and the energy just flowing out. That was beautiful.
Well, you summoned it to a great extent because you are such a goddess archetype. I mean, there's such a delicious frequency that I see within you. And yes, I'm divinely flirting with you here, in a good way, but in a good way.
Well,
Because when I'm flirting with you, the greater truth is I'm flirting with Goddess Absolute. And I
yes.
know that. See, any gift that I give is a gift unto the individual, but then it's all inclusive unto Goddess Absolute.
Yeah.
And so you
Somebody just
are.
in the chat, here I am. I love you. You better clue in on that, Astarias. She said, here I am. I love you. She's
And there it
already in love.
is.
Thank you. That was the most honoring of the feminine, the most honoring of the goddess, the most beautiful call for love I have ever heard. That was extraordinary.
Oh,
Thank you.
beautiful. Have
I'm
you
very
created that reflection for yourself? You're such a powerful presence in the resonance of who you are, and you teach about relationships. Have you created that reality for yourself?
well, that reality is feeling really good right now. Thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Love it. I had no idea what you were putting together this morning, Scott. Exceeds any imagining or expectation I had. I love it, love it, love it. This
You
is
know,
what's possible for all of us, that level of flow, connectedness, the excitement, the warmth that I feel, not just between the three of us, but I'm feeling into our audience and that
Yes.
expanded universe around us. It's what we're here for, to connect this. And what
Right.
I'm feeling right now is that this is a trend that's actually sending a vibration of unity out into the world.
Well,
And
yes.
it's like running down my arms, and my whole body is lit up with, all the energy flowing, but the expansion of the consciousness that you just created, brother. Whoa.
Well, you
It
know
just
what?
traveled out.
Part of the great truth of what's happening, and it's by virtue of all of us, the three of us here, but everybody else who's tuned in, because this is a collective co-creation.
Yeah.
And by virtue of this collective co-creation, the universe just got weak in the knees. The universe just swooned and tingled all over itself. I mean, the universe may have even gotten wet, you see, because because that which is done unto the drop is done unto the ocean. And so
Yes.
we want to know that. See,
Yeah.
that when we come together in this way, that we are impacting the fabric of all that is. I mean,
Mm.
even God has been quickened by
Mm-hmm.
virtue of this moment, because we are the individualization of Creator Source. And that's what Creator gets through each and every one of us, is a version of God's own beingness individualized through each one of us that is absolutely unduplicatable.
Yeah.
But even this co-creation is unduplicatable, because it takes just this combination of beings, the three of us facilitators, and every other being who is connected, but not only in this now moment, every other being that will hear the replay of it.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
universe is quickened. The
And we're
universe has
holding that
swooned.
divine trinity. I'm really feeling this divine trinity. Scott opened with this beautiful meditation that was a door opener, and the energy and the light is just accelerating and expanding, as we're continuing to share this time, this energy, this space together. I can feel it just opening up in ways that are extraordinary. It's like
Mm.
my awareness right now is interplanetary. So thank you for taking us on.
You know, bringing it again into how does this happen?
Yeah.
A mantra that I use has been very useful for me, that is a direct relationship to what's happening today. Is my mantra is I'm a clear channel for spirit to flow through. And because I'm very mental and I'm a producer and I have to constantly be organizing and making things happen,
Yes.
I have to also, by keeping one foot into the grounded world, I also try to keep one foot into the bigger picture by constantly reminding myself I'm a clear channel for spirit to flow through. I'm a clear channel for spirit to flow through. And so I had this Sacred Sunday scheduled with Astarias, and I don't even remember the moment, but at some point, whenever it was, a week ago or 10 days ago, Spirit said, invite Dr. Brenda to that show. And I don't even remember when the moment was, but I remember getting the hit. And then I needed to run it by Brother Astarias first, because I wanted to honor that we already had this commitment. And the point that I'm making, and thank you, Brother Astarias, because he was in his integrity. He didn't, they say, yeah, sure, Scott, whatever. He was like, whoa, wait, I need to, let me tune into this for a moment. I want to make sure that this feels right, which was great. He didn't just give me a, yeah, whatever you say. He tuned into his own integrity. And when he tuned in, he got, yeah, okay. And there's a couple of great lessons here that for all of us, let's just keep listening. Let's keep listening and then honoring. But then just because we get the hit, we still need to respect who that impacts and make the request, not the demand. Even though I might think this is God coming through or light coming through or what's supposed to happen, honoring whoever's impacted, creating a safe space for that person to tune in and get the yes, and here we are. So
Yeah. Well,
That's a beautiful
Scott.
teaching that you just offered, Scott, because so often we live in a world where it's demanded of us that we make decisions like
Mhm.
this. And to take that moment to step back and breathe into it and check in with the heart wisdom, that was a beautiful teaching. Thank you. I think
And
we all.
honor and to honor the heart wisdom of others, because what gets tricky is when we do feel like we're getting a higher inspiration,
Mhm.
but not to perceive that now we're self-righteous or we have the right to impose our higher wisdom onto another person.
Yes.
To
You
share
know what, Scott? You know
you.
what I was listening for when you proposed it, and when I took it inside, my inner guidance was, well, one, I'm not going to say an unsacred yes, because if I said an unsacred yes, I would be out of integrity with myself.
Mhm.
And many of us know what the unsacred yes is because we say yes to things without fullness of heart, and then we feel some resentment inside about it. So had I got a sacred no rather than an unsacred yes, then I would have been making a gesture to you, Scott. Okay, I'm willing to bow out of that program, and you just feature Dr. Brenda,
Mhm.
and let me circle in at a different time. I would have been happy to just release it all together rather than to be out of integrity with myself.
Mhm.
And now I'm so thrilled,
Mhm.
that I listened. I'm so thrilled that I didn't say a spot, like a spontaneous yes. And I say that to all of you beloveds who are very empathic, because many of us are. We feel other
Mhm.
people's energy as if it's
Mhm.
our own. When somebody asks you for something, it's good to say, let me meditate on it, let me sleep on it, and I'll get back with you, so that we create that buffer of time and space, and we make our decision away from them, because sometimes when we say the snap yes, we're unconsciously so overshadowed by their energy, confusing it to be our own, and we feel like we have to comply with what they're asking of us. And
Mhm.
so I'm so happy that it played out in the way that it did, and it's a great teaching
Yeah.
for everybody. And I tell you what, I'm over the moon that it has happened in the way that it has.
So one other thing I want to riff on. So beautiful description of really making it a sacred yes.
Mhm.
That's something that you wouldn't do, but that many of us might.
Mhm.
Is this is different what I have than what I'm Astarius when he hears Scott say, hey, what about I have an idea of bringing Dr. Brenda in. He doesn't know Dr. Brenda. He thought it was going to be just he and I. He also didn't go into a reactive hurt. No, he didn't go into a, okay, well, fine, you just go do it with her. I'll withdraw. And that's what sometimes we as human beings do. We get something different than what we imagined. We get
Mhm.
hurt, we contract, and then we roll over and play dead. We contract and we say, okay, fine, do it without me.
Yeah.
And we miss out on this incredibly yummy thing that could
Yeah.
happen, right? So
Yes.
there's the other way that we can be in when we're in our perfectly human self, that again was the choice that was available that Astorius, thank God, did not make.
Yeah.
And so this is just a wonderful example of how three beings are modeling how to
Mhm.
make something work,
Yeah.
right?
And not only work, but create something beyond. This is so far beyond my expectations. It's so far beyond what I had imagined or could have created on my own. And I know that together there's this synergy, this synchronicity. And I'm going to bring this back just for a moment back into coupledom, because this is a key for happy coupledom, to go with the flow with integrity, checking in with your inner being and allowing some space. Is this right for me? Will this work for me? But oh, the possibility is also there. There's a seed. And very often, this is my experience of couples, you know, couples who are on the path, who are on the journey, who want to awaken, who want to increase the level of love and consciousness between them, that sometimes just introducing that thing out of left field, well, why don't we do this? There's a contraction in the other person. It's like, but that wasn't what I wanted, wasn't what I expected, but you're changing the plan. But just to hold the space and it's the heart space, just the 12 powers of the heart. Open that up. Let that be there. And the number one power that flashes for me right now that could make that possible is just the power of understanding. Get under it, stand under it, look up at it, look down at it, get under it, and experience the possibility, because that's what we've created, is a possibility beyond anything. Astarius is a genius master magician. You, Scott, are, even your voice is a transmission. And, I drop in with the gifts God has given me and what have been cultivated through pain and everything that we all have. And there's something here that's magical. I can feel it. It's beautiful. And I hope that with our audience, we're modeling for them. We're modeling for them possibility, that for all of us, the unexpected, even the painful, even the thing that we thought was our worst experience ever, can be transformed into possibilities that enliven us, uplift us, bring us together in a new way, synergize love. There are just so many things that we can create just by being open.
And what caused me to say yes was my inner standing. And it wasn't really hard. When Scott sent me a couple of your videos, and I mean, when I watched, and I didn't even see all of it, it was a no-brainer. I said, okay, I can say yes, to this. I want to say yes, to this.
Well, I'm glad I vetted and I made the cut. That's great.
Not only did you
make Sister, you did more than make the cut.
I would love, because there is a beautiful synergy here, and I'm gonna, when we're off camera, I'd love to, when we finish the show, stick around for a moment because I have an idea.
Okay.
I love it when you have ideas, Scott.
I got a thing. So to complete this show, I want to come back to the Christ in Christmas. And I want to ask each of you to share a final thought, and I'll model an offering. In the Bible, at least the Bible we read, we saw, I am the way, the truth, the life. No man cometh to the Father but by me. And for me, those words are important. And obviously, he's not referencing an organization started hundreds of years later. But again, he's referencing the Christ consciousness that is available to all of us. And I think that quote, it's a bittersweet quote for me, because the sweetness of what it really means is so powerful. And yet I also acknowledge the pain of how that quote has been misrepresented to create an evangelical or dogmatic, you must come through the church in order to, and it's interesting to note that nowhere in the Bible actually does Jesus ever mention heaven or hell. He never mentions hell. Hell was created way after. And so coming back to, I am the way, the truth, the life. No man cometh to the Father but by me. Recognizing that really recognizes that all of us truly are available to come into the full consciousness of what Brother Astarius described in the big picture, helping us to remember that there is this one extraordinary life that is happening at once that we can always connect to. And so I just wanted to kind of conclude with how meaningful that quote is to me. And again, my sadness of how it's been so misused and misrepresented by human beings in their desire to try and control somebody or something.
Absolutely. And Scott, I want to add to what you said about this letting go of the desire to control. And I found that out of fear, out of hurt, out of woundedness, most of us manifest some sort of control pattern. I want to manipulate, dominate, control you, or whatever's going on around me. And I want to hold a space for Mary, Maria, that the feminine is the flowing polarity. It's the flow of the water of the divine, the light, the love of the Most High, and that there is within every being who's in a female body this capacity to bring forth life. But it's more than life, it's bringing forth light, creative power, a balance. And this balance is what Mother Earth needs right now. And I'm holding a space for us to hold, all of us, whether we're in masculine bodies or feminine bodies, to hold a space for the mother. Because without her, and the need that we have right now to heal her and love her and be with her, I want to bring that into our consciousness, that the gift I would like to invite everyone to give this season is a gift of some intentionality or some action or some way that we can bring a rebirthing of the mother forward.
Thank you so much.
And the mother is the balance, and the balance is the BALANCE, be all and see. Be all and see. That's balance. Because balance doesn't exclude anything. It's all inclusive. It includes everything. And that's certainly the great wisdom of the mother. My final message relative to the Christ consciousness is that in order to do that, I think of a scripture that says, unless you become as a little child, you can't enter the kingdom of heaven. See, the credentials that get us back into that kingdom of absoluteness that we've descended from is the inner child. See, our Christhood is directly correlated to our childhood, our inner childhood. So when we are very self-critical and we're beating up on ourselves, we don't know it, but we're engaging in inner child abuse. See, what would it be like to draw back and punch this little 1-year-old you in the face? That's exactly what we've been doing every single time that we put ourselves down. Every single time we said, I'm not good enough. Every single time we accomplished something and we didn't fully celebrate it. Every single time that we got caught in minimizing the maximum, having a minimum appreciation for whatever the maximum yield was. Because when we minimize the maximum becomes the minimum. But our power is in maximizing the minimum. We have a maximum appreciation for whatever the so-called minimum yield was. And when we maximize the minimum becomes the maximum. And we do that by virtue of our connection to the inner child, who is the little elder. So I'm going to conclude with this poem that I wrote called The Little Elder. Adults are the offspring of the child. Let us ponder this a while. When we arrived upon this earth, were we grown up, or did the child come first? Adult that I have come to be is offspring of the child in me. Who can tell the total truth without the purity of youth? Who has fun in all they do, and to their feelings, oh so true? Who can ride upon the wind, whose growing is a constant trend, who faces life with open arms, and whose is the most irresistible charm? Who is first to forgive, who truly lives and lets live, and who has love for the stranger, till programmed with the fear of danger? The child within shall never die. The greatest truth of you and I, growing up is never done, till everyone's elder is the little one. So let us ponder this a while. The blueprint of heaven is in the heart of the child. And also the blueprint of heaven is in the heart of the goddess, because she teaches us how to feel. I can't heal what I'm unwilling to feel.
Right.
I can't heal what I won't reveal. And the goddess has taught me how to show up in my emotional honesty and have sacred guts on the table. God has taught me how to do that. That's the emotional honesty. And that's where our power is at. And our Christhood is in being transparent and speaking the truth, even if it's not popular, even if someone doesn't accept it, but realizing that all of our communications are not just exclusive, but all inclusive. We're not just talking to that person, we're talking to the universe, and God, Goddess Absolute. And God, Goddess Absolute always gets us, always validates us, always accepts us, and always reciprocates the blessing back to us, though that blessing may find its way back to us through a completely different individual than we initially shared with. So let us never belittle the sharings that we offer unto life. And let us never withhold those sharings. Because when we share the blessing that we have received, that blessing becomes 3 times given. It was given to us initially. And when we share it with the universe through this person, that's the second giving. And out of grace, the universe and God shares it back with us yet again. So the blessings are 3 times given when we share it forward. So I'm so grateful to you, you beloveds. Scott, Dr. Brenda, all you beloveds listening, thank you so much for showing up and remembering who you are and knowing that you make a monumental impact upon the expansion of life, that life is better by virtue of you, and that you are a blessing on the creator source that creator source can't get from anywhere else. And so I say, Aho, Ashe, Amen, Namaste, Hotep, in Lakesh, Alakin, Shalom, Satnam, Hariom, and Rastafari. Our sacred juices are cooked and infinitely expanding. Juicefari, Blistafari. We're going to always have many miles on our smile and a wiggle in our giggle and tingling in our boots and laughter ever after, putting our strut and wings on our butt, cause we're always rising up, and up at the top there's room for all. It's just the bottom that's crowded, y'all. And so it is, and so it shall eternally be. Rastafari.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
I have a couple of practical things here. I give this incredible expansive energy that I'm going to bring it down a little bit. I want to let people know that you can get more Astarius by going to his website. And of course, I've pulled it up right now. It's easy. It's his name, Astarius.com, Astarius, Astarius.com. And truly, he is an ascension ambassador. So definitely go to his website. Register. He's got a lot of good stuff there and a lot of things that he's available for. So definitely go to his website. And then I also want to refer people to Dr. Brenda's website. We just missed a couple of amazing things that she did on Thursday and Saturday. But drbrendaWade.com, same thing, it's her name, drbrendaWade.com. So that's where you can go and find out more about what she's doing.
And our website's under construction, so there's just a simple holding page, but let me offer a gift, if I might, Scott.
Yeah.
I do a gratis training. Anyone who's interested, just hit me back. My email is love, as you might have guessed, LOVE at docwade.com. And I'm happy to send you the link to join me for a training. And our guest this next month is going to be Chief Philip Scott. So those
wow.
who know Philip, who's one of my wonderful teachers. And of course, I'm going to be inviting you, Scott, and our brother magician to be guests also on our platform.
Fantastic. Yeah, Chief Philip Scott's wonderful. He's been on Saturday Night Live. In fact, he and I co-hosted a show similar to how Dr. Brenda and I are going to be co-hosting a show in January. And so...
Wait. Oh, my God. Can't wait.
So, and that's what I want to talk to Astarius about. So we'll talk after this, after we stop recording. I want to thank everybody for watching. And again, lots of wonderful things in the chat box. We haven't had a chance to read everybody's, but Dia, Jeff, Omashar, Bonnie, So many of you that wrote beautiful things. I'm saving the chat box. I'll send it to you both so you can read.
Thank you.
For all of you watching on Facebook, thank you for watching. I'll go back, take a look at your comments, Nancy. I appreciated everything you shared. I'm sorry I couldn't get to your question. And as we drop in to this very holy time, the winter solstice this week, Christmas Day, my birthday, which is on Christmas Day.
Oh, happy birthday. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, my joke always is the true meaning of Christmas, Scott's birthday.
We can work with that, Scott.
We can work
Yes,
with
we
that.
can. Yes, we can.
And we will have a very special Saturday Night Alive next Saturday night, which happens to be Christmas night. It'll be very Maui Christmas. And a lot of my friends are going to be joining me in person. So it's going to be a wonderful show. Dr. Brenda Astarias, thank you so much for being who you are, all that you have experienced. And I want to acknowledge your ancestors because you both carry a powerful ancestral lineage of wisdom that clearly is coming through you. And I'm just imagining that your ancestors are very proud and very grateful for how you are bringing forth their life experiences going back many generations into your current wisdom. Practical wisdom from Dr. Brenda, expansive remembrance and divine remembrance from Astarias. It's a pleasure to work with you two, and let's do this again soon.
Yes.
Thank you, Scott, and just bless you for holding the space that you hold. You're like a lightning rod, drawing all the energy, all the light, all the possibilities, and sharing them with all of us. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.